When my sister was 18 years old, she converted to being a Mormon, which did not go over well at all with my parents. There was a lot of yelling and hostility and turmoil. But she was 18, and she believed in what she believed in, so she became a Mormon. Along the way, she met a wonderful Mormon man, and they fell in love, and they got married in 1994 at the Mormon Temple up in Maryland that looks like a giant castle from Narnia. It's so otherworldly, which I guess is kind of the point. But because no one in my family were card-carrying members of the Mormon church, we were not allowed to go to the wedding because we were not allowed in the building. And then about 7 years later, her husband, so my brother-in-law, came across some information about the Mormon church that just didn't really mesh with him. So he asked his father about it, and his father said, "You just need to pray more." And my brother-in-law said, "Okay." I still have this question, though. So he did his own research, and his world kind of came apart at the seams. The more he found out, the more was called into question for him. And so he had to do the really heavy thing of coming to terms with this on his own and realizing that maybe he didn't believe in this thing he'd been living since he was born. And then he had to worry about telling my sister, who was still a devout Mormon. So when he told my sister, her reaction was, "You just need to pray more." And he said, "I've tried that." My sister was devastated. She cried a lot for a long time. Because first she cried because she couldn't believe what her husband was saying to her. And then she cried because she believed what her husband was saying to her. So they got through it. They got through it together, and they eventually left the Mormon church. And then, in 2006, I was lucky enough to go to my first family wedding as an adult, because I've been to plenty as a kid, but as an adult, you appreciate so much more on a whole different level. Plus, I'm sappier than any pine tree you'll ever meet. I'm hopelessly romantic, and I'm super into my family. So that year, my cousin that got married, who I'm really good friends with, I told her that her wedding day was one of the happiest days of my life. And she probably thought that I was kidding, because who says that? But I was not kidding. I mean, this woman that I love so much, and she's my family, and she got married on the beach, and, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. One of the most important days of her life, hands down, and I got to be there for that shit. That's hot. And so I just felt so lucky and happy. And then, later that year, her brother got married. And then, the next year, my sister was getting married. So I'm flying so high on cloud 9, surrounded by my family's marital bliss. And then I started to think of my ex-Mormon sister. Because when she got married in that Mormon castle, she was a part of a very deep-seated belief system that told her that we shouldn't go into that castle. But she'd since left that belief system, so I wondered if she ever thought about the fact that she never got to share her wedding with us. So I decided to throw her a surprise wedding. So, got all the family together, and I officiated wearing an old high school graduation gown, because I don't know what a fake officiant wears to a fake wedding. During the officiation, my sister looked at me and started crying, so then I started crying. When I was done, I gave them permission to kiss each other. And we made a chocolate heart-shaped cake, my siblings and I, that was really unattractive. We tried. There was a chocolate ganache, but we mostly just slathered and slopped and poured it on. So it was not pretty, but it was delicious. And my sister and her husband got to cut the cake. And then they had their first dance to their song, as a couple, which turned out to be "Right Here Waiting" by Richard Marx, who, if you're not familiar, he his heyday was in like 1989, and it involved a poofy mullet. So they danced to that, and then my other members of my family joined in and danced along. And then after they were finished dancing, my sister stepped to the side of the room, and she started to cry. And she apologized to my family for her Mormon years. And she didn't say that. That's Liz. I walked over to her and I just said, no, no. We love you, and we're just happy to be here with you. And whatever, let's just dance and eat the ugly cake and hug each other. So it was an amazing time. She was totally surprised, which I don't know if that's good or bad. And so the thing about that is that surprise wedding is that was a planned surprise, right? And I think about this and I'm like, it's the unplanned surprises, like two missionaries walking in when you're 18 and converting you to the Mormon religion, or your husband walking in and telling you that the only life you've ever known with him is maybe not the right life for you to be living anymore. It's those unplanned surprises that make life rich and juicy and crazy and amazing. And I tell you, when I get knocked up over the head with an unplanned surprise in my future, which I know I will, I just can only hope that I turn out as awesome as my sister.